So, Christina, did you copy and paste into the chat earlier the Google Doc with the code or no? Or was it just the
I shared
slides?
the REPL.
Or did you even perhaps REPL? Okay, you got the REPL. In that case, let me go open that.
So did you go over Cypher?
Yeah. That'd be great if this would just work. Yeah, I finished going over the Cypher.
Okay.
Yeah, that was. I think it went well. There wasn't really much going on in the chat, but let me know, guys. We're back on now. I just want to know, did you guys understand that? Was I going too fast or too
Or if you have like any questions from
slow?
last week.
Let me know. Opens.
Do you want me to wait? What are you trying to open? Are you trying to open like the?
Well, I just made one slight modification to the REPL, but it doesn't matter, I guess.
Okay.
Either way. I mean, I basically just made one extra modification that I'm not sure if that would confuse people, but you know how we had here like a checker for the E and the D, but we didn't actually have one for the Y and the N here at the bottom. So I just added an extra area there.
Oh, okay.
It just copy pasted the code and changed the variable. That was all I did. But yeah, I was just going over that how we can basically use that as a neat little trick. In that case, I believe we're done with dictionaries and functions, correct? Then we're done with teaching that. Oh, can you share the REPL link in the chat again?
Yeah, I'll re-put it.
Yeah, you do that. I guess that means that we can move on to the next topic, which this could be a little bit hard, but we really hope that you guys can understand it. So Python is known as a language that is it's object-oriented programming, also known as OOP. Essentially, what object-oriented programming means is that basically there are objects, but what is an object? So let's go over that. So far we know how to create ints, floats, strings, and booleans. But what if you really wanted to make our own different kind of variable? That's basically what an object is. Whereas you have ints and floats and strings and booleans, you could just have them. Objects is something that we kind of have to define. And the blueprint for our object is known as a class. So let's move on to the next thing. This is an example of some Python code for a class. So let's go over it. This might just seem kind of weird. Like some of it looks, familiar, like def and then having all of these variables. But what does this class, registrant, and self stuff mean? So let's go over it. Over here, we'll see that the class keyword is essentially just a way of telling the Python, like def, that we are now going to be defining a new class, which right here in this lime green text, we have our name of the class. So this is a registrant. And again, we use indenting to define all of the stuff that's inside the class with a colon. This is standard stuff that you've seen thus far, so I really hope you get it. And if not, let us know. But here's the weird thing. This underscore underscore init underscore underscore, like, what is this? Why is it so oddly specific, and why do we need this? So def init with the 4 underscores is how we initialize, or like how we define like our standard like creation function for our registrant. So as you'll see here, we have a thing called self, name, phone, email, and grade. So what does that mean? Like that all sounds like data that we'll need for our registrant, but what's all of this about? So self is just sort of a weird variable. We can't actually set self to anything, but we can use self to basically get data out of it. So you'll see right here, I'm not sure if you've actually covered this yet, but the periods between the self and all of these other variables, that's essentially the beauty of what a class is. We can essentially create an object that has other variables in it. So we can assume that name is some sort of string, email is a string, grade is probably a number, and then phone can either be like a string or a number if you want to be weird. But essentially, we can use this whole self variable to basically keep track of a bunch of other variables. And when you call this init function, we essentially give it all of the data that we need. We give it a string, we give it a string for our number, a string for our email, and an int for our grade. And it will essentially give us an object that allows us to call dot on it to get those variables back out. Just keep in mind that this specific function is the function that we call whenever we go to create something. So how do we actually go about using something like this? So here's an example of like actually creating an instance of this registrant class. So if we, again, we can create a variable like we've always been doing, just call it person and set it equal to registrant with its capital R and pass in the 4 parameters, just like we've been doing. Like we're essentially creating another function, but this is like, instead of giving us, say, you know, an int or a string or a float, we're actually going to be getting an object, which essentially is just a collection of data instead of just one bit of data. So again, we can pass a string, a string, a string, and an int, and it will create, it'll use this function to set all of that data for us. So Christina, do you think that maybe we should, I don't know, what do you want to do?
Go to code.
Just go over, want to like test, want to like show like an application of it, like just be using this registrant class to show
Yeah,
them
do you want to
some
like
interaction.
type it in the REPL and then,
Okay, sure.
okay, I'll share the REPL link that we're typing on right now. So you guys,
Class
oops,
register.
okay.
Okay. Oh, last show. Is it?
Okay. Yeah, so basically the init function is run every time you create a an object of that type, it'll run the init function. Like usually you name the file, like we would name it like registrant.py, I think. But I think this is fine.
And do you want to like show some applications of it, or like to like do that? I don't know.
Yeah, do you want to, we can, okay, we can write that in the main, hold on. Let me put the link to the, okay, I think, yeah, so this is the REPL we're typing on right now.
So yeah, if you want, you could go into that REPL and you should be able to see our code. If you can't, let us know.
Can we do the applications like right here, or
No, yeah, we can. So you can like create a registrant and like show how we can do stuff with it.
yeah,
I'm gonna actually go get my charger real quick, so it's all on you. So I'm sorry. I'll be right back.
So I'm just gonna create a registrant. I'm gonna call them person, like we saw in the slides. So you all can see Anthony's screen. Yeah. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to just set it equal to registrant and then fill in all these parameters. We don't have to put in anything for self because again, that's just an instance of the class. So we would have to put in a name as a string. I don't remember what it was in the slides. Okay, I think they had the phone number as a string as well. We would put in his email. And then you would put a grade. So right now, person is defined to an object. So we can do a few things with this. We can let, just to show you how to access like different properties of this object. Again, like Anthony mentioned, we use a period to access those. Say we want to print out like person, we want to print out their name. We could say we get access person like period name, and it should print out Bob if we ran it. Yeah. And same thing if I were to print out like person grade. So if it's clear how you access different properties of an object. So say, Anthony, did you go over methods yet?
We have not gone over methods yet. Do you want to do that right now, or?
Sure, because I think it's like, you guys understand that like when we create this registrant, it's running.
I don't know if we actually have. Do you have any methods?
It should be on the slides. You didn't
Yeah,
finish.
it's just more along the. Okay, so grade name. Okay, so we have. Yeah, we're actually going to show you how to do a. I'm actually going to just take this off and put it onto the side.
Okay.
I'm not going to be able to
Are you okay?
remember that. So if self grade, okay. So def. Am I doing that right? That doesn't feel
I
right.
think you stopped screen sharing by accident.
Oh, did I stop screen sharing?
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Sorry about that. Oh, which one is which? Is this my right screen? Which one is the right screen? This one, okay. Sorry, I have way too many tabs open. That made it very hard. I couldn't actually read any of them. So.
Yeah,
It
so
should be
just like
something along the lines of if. Is that how it looks? I can't.
yeah, so you just go through you have to take self. So just like the init, every method has to take self as a parameter because it's like an instance. Oops.
I'm so sorry.
Or do you want me to?
No, because like I'm like opening so many tabs right now. This is not. I can't open the right tab. I don't see the
I can
reference
type if you want.
Can you just type it? Can you
Yeah.
just type it for me? I'm
So
sorry. This is
it's
not,
okay, it's okay.
because I think it's because I'm screen sharing. It's not allowing me to open up certain tabs. So that's
Yeah.
great.
So just like the init is like a function that every single object needs to have because it's like what's run when you create an object. So we're also going to take self here because we need it to be able to access its properties. So we're going to access self.grade and we're going to say if it's equal to 9, we're going to return freshman. I don't think we need parentheses in Python, right? I don't know.
Oh yeah, you don't need prints. Yeah, I'm still on like a Java mindset. I'm sorry.
So then we say 10th grade, we can return sophomore, self.grade equals 11. We'll return junior. Oops. And then else they have to be a senior. So as you guys can see, this kind of works like a regular function. We're defining it. Here's the function name. And we're taking parameters, except in a class, we're taking the parameter of self. And when we return, we can access it through the object name.
Now just correct me if I'm wrong. Do we use the underscore between function names? I forgot.
I think Python is like no. I think you're right. I forget, to be honest.
But yeah, as you see, when we run this, our grade is 11, so it'll go to the elif right here, see that it's 11, and print return junior instead. So we essentially can have functions that can basically just change our grade. Like for instance, we can even have a function that say changes it. So what would a function for like just the summer, like rank up next year? I don't know. Like for instance, we can just do that, and then we'll do self dot grade 1. We could then call that function again, but then call next year. Oh wait, I don't want to print that. I just want to call the function. Sorry about that. It doesn't actually return anything. It just does it. But as you see, we can actually change these values after we instantiate them, just like a regular variable, and then still call that function again, and it'll still have all of that data saved.
Okay. So does anyone have any questions about this or like want to see more examples?
Because we can move on to the next thing that we were doing with objects, or we can continue reviewing how objects work before we go on further.
Yeah, and
No one is everyone good, or is everyone just like not saying anything? Just
thumbs up.
a thumbs up, or just
Okay.
okay. Well, I guess we can technically just want to move on to the next thing, or
Okay, do you want to do the lab or?
so yeah, if you guys are feeling confident with this material, we can actually move on to a lab. We're not entirely sure how we're going to be going about doing the lab. We can give you the PDF if you guys would like, just to like, basically with this lab, we're going to just review the material that we've done and like use it in more of an application kind of way, just to see if you understand this concept. But if you want to just do it along with us, that's fine. But if you want to go ahead and look at the material and just do it on your own, that's fine too. We'll be here and we'll be coding. So if you want to do it yourself, you can. But if you don't, you'll still be doing it on our screen.
I sent the lab file. If you guys want to look at it, that's what we'll be using kind of to plan out this. Okay, do you want to just delete this code or like make another file or something?
We could just keep. I think we can honestly just get rid of the not.
We can comment it
part.
out. Sure.
If you want, you can comment. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But yeah, if we open up the, let me actually open it up for you guys because I'm not sure if all of you are going to download it. But basically, this is the lab. It's 2 pages, but don't let that daunt you. Some of it is just a little bit of test cases. Although this isn't. Okay, yeah, we're actually not going to be looking at the test cases all that much, but we are going to at least use it a little bit to make sure that it works. So we're going to create a class called vehicle tester.py and vehicle.py. Actually, we don't even need to do the vehicle tester. We could actually just do the vehicle.py.
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe we actually already have that. We just called it main. That's fine. You don't actually have to call it anything, but we suggest you call your file vehicle.py. Of course, we're going to now define some vehicle class. So we're going to have something like that. But what are we actually going to be putting in it? So we're going to define the vehicle class like it says here. But we actually have some functions and some variables that we're going to have to define. So let's just read this out, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just takes. They want it to take 4 parameters. So when we create a vehicle, the user will have to, the person creating the vehicle object will have to put in 4 parameters like make, model, fuel capacity, and miles per gallon. So if in case you didn't know, like fuel capacity, the number of gallons of gasoline that the car can hold, and then MPG is just miles per gallon. So the total number of miles it could travel on 1 gallon of gas. And then they also want 2 additional properties that aren't going to be parameters in the init function, just total miles, the total miles that the car is driven. So that's going to start at 0, and then fuel level, which will just tell us how much gas is currently in the car. And when we first create it, the car will have a full tank, so fuel level should just be equal to fuel capacity. So do you want to type this out in the REPL?
So sure, let's start off with the constructor. So let me just put this all the way over here. I keep accidentally clicking that one. So like before, we're going to do def underscore underscore init underscore underscore, and then the parentheses and a colon. But of course, we're going to be putting our variables inside. So we need, so fuel capacity MPG. So fuel capacity MPG, fuel level, and fuel capacity. So yeah, like before, we are just going to add self along with our 4 variables. And on the inside, we're going to do self.fuel capacity equals fuel capacity.
Do you want to like shrink the terminal so it's a little easier to see?
Oh, yeah, I made the terminal very big earlier. Sorry about that. That's all. Better. Thank you for noticing that. Yeah, self.mpg is equal to mpg. Self.fuel level equals fuel level. And self.fuel capacity is equal to fuel capacity. And someone drew on the screen. Thank you.
Also, if it's not clear, your variable, like when you say self.fuel capacity is equal to fuel capacity, like those two variable names don't have to be the same. We just did
Wait,
that because.
am I stupid? Wait, what just happened? Did someone delete the code? I think Thomas might have just deleted the code and then.
Okay, we have the code. I can, don't worry.
You just copy and paste the code. Thank you, Christina. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done this specific lab. I think this is like a freshman year lab.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
so what oh wait, this is the right, yeah. So what I was saying is these variables don't have to have the same name. It's just like for our ease, like we could name this like self.fuel cap, and it wouldn't change anything. It would just change how we access it.
like,
but we're allowed to use, yeah.
I'm gonna actually, if you comment, did you copy and paste the code in yet? Because I don't see that on my screen.
I did. Wow, it's not showing up on your screen though.
Oh, am I? I'm not even in the right
refresh. I'll refresh.
Doing that digital, like.
My laptop is having issues today.
Honestly, I didn't expect anything else other than just technical issues at this point. Okay, thank you. So yeah, oh yeah, and make a model. I'm blind. But yeah, as you can see here, that she actually uses fuel capacity to define two variables because in this instance, we're assuming that whenever we define a car, we want to have some sort of maximum fuel, but that your car is also at maximum fuel by the time that you start it. So that's just one thing that you can do. Or for instance, you like how we have 0 here, we might want it so that when you get the car, it has no fuel, or maybe half of its fuel capacity, something like that. You can always use the same variables over and over again, which hopefully you should know by now. Yeah, so even though we don't have to always do self.fuel level equals fuel level and just always define everything because that would be kind of useless. But yeah, let's just move on to the next function or the next things that we have to do. So you'll see here that we're going to need, I believe, 3 functions. So add gas, get range, and drive. So add gas is fairly self-explanatory, that you're going to give it some amount of gallons of gas to add, and it'll add that to the fuel tank. But the only thing that we have to make sure of is that it always gets capped at fuel capacity, as in we can't just have more gas than our car can hold. So can anyone in the chat just tell us how you might go about approaching this sort of problem? I'm gonna look in the chat and see.
Or you can unmute and
if someone in the chat could just let us know how they'd personally try handling that, that'd be great.
Any ideas?
Any ideas?
Did everyone catch what Anthony said? What problem we're trying to solve? If no one has any ideas, do you want to just do it?
Sure. I guess I can just show you guys what you want to do, but I do recommend that maybe you do try to think about the problem yourself first. I mean, maybe you are. I just didn't see any responses, so I'll show you how I would do it. So the function's name is called add gas. So I'm going to just put that there. And it's going to need a thing called self and gallons. We can use an if statement, fuel level, capacity, then we're just going to set that the fuel level is equal to the fuel capacity. Otherwise, we're just going to set, oh, I forgot the colon. Otherwise, self is just going to be equal, or self.fuel level is going to be equal to self.fuel level plus the gallons. So basically, we're going to just do a plus equal, for the gas, unless it's going to be equal to more than what it is, or like more than it can handle. Am I doing this right?
You need self dot, I think.
I keep. Yeah, I'm sorry. Again, I'm still stuck in Java mode. So thank you again, Christina. So yeah, basically we're only going to check if it would overflow, and if it does overflow, just make sure that we cap it off. Otherwise, we're just going to do the standard self.fuel level.
Yeah, so for the next task, we have to get range. So basically, we want to know how many miles the car can drive on its current tank of gas. So does anyone have an idea of how to do this? Using miles per gallon and our current fuel level. If you want to give it a try, like type it in the chat or just unmute and.
As in, like, if we have a certain number of gallons in our tank and we can go this many miles per gallon, you know how we can get the number of miles that we can drive.
Okay. If not, should I just type it out?
If you want to just do it yourself, that works too.
Okay, I'm gonna move you. Okay, so we would just, again, the same way we define any other method, we would say def. I think we want to call it get range. And all we need for this is self. So basically we want to return something with this function instead of changing. Like you can see how you have like modifier functions and then functions that like get you values. So we just want to return the product of our current gas tank times our miles per gallon. Because if we have like 1 gallon of gas and we can go 10 miles per gallon, our range is 10 miles. So we can just return self.fuel level times self.miles per gallon, right? Okay. Does that make sense to everyone?
Wait, times. Isn't it division? Wait, am I being stupid?
I think division would come in for the next method, right? Because we want to find the total number of miles.
Yeah, I'm done. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Whatever. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Do you want to move on to the next one if no one has questions for this one?
Okay, so this is, I believe, one of our last methods. I believe we also have string, but we'll talk about that later. So we're going to have a method called drive, which the only parameter it needs is miles, or rather the distance that it wants to drive. And it's going to increase the total the total miles by the number of miles that it drives, and it will decrease the fuel level by the miles per gallon. Just keep in mind that we also can't drive without gas, so we're going to have some other app basically to figure out if we if we actually can drive that many miles. So it will be able to drive as far as it can, so long as it has the right amount. So does anyone have any ideas? I mean, we're gonna wait like a minute, but
even if you don't know like the code for it, you can just unmute and tell us like pseudocode or like how you would go about it.
If you don't know, do you have any comments that you'd like to make at all, or? Okay. Well, um, okay, well, I guess I'll just write this as well. So the drive function. I'm going to just use the benefit of the doubt and just say that you were all writing the code on your own going forward as well. But yeah, we're going to need self and the miles we're going to be driving. Of course, you're going to need to have another cap again. So the thing that you might notice with this function is that we still can call some of our own methods while we're actually in a class. So we can actually just call our range. So if self.get range, no, we don't do that. If the range that we have that we can drive is greater than the miles that we have to drive, then we're good, and then we can just, drive as far as I need. Oh, CodeMG. Is it okay if I copy and paste your code so I can have it too? Yes, you can. Although you can copy and paste the code if you want, but we do encourage you to code on your own or like with us, just because that generally helps solidify the concepts a little bit more. But if you are like behind, you can. I would say though that we would rather have you just ask questions and we can have you code it yourself, because I do think that does solidify the concepts a little bit more. But yeah, you can copy it if you want.
And
We can't
this
really
was-
stop you. We can't stop you from coding it if that's basically the answer.
And this is
we
the
can't
way-
stop you.
Yeah. This will be shared with you, like still
Yeah,
shared.
we basically share a lot of the code in between classes anyway, so it's fine. It's just, we like it when you do it yourself. So yeah. So long as we have enough miles that we can drive, then we will drive them. So in that case, we're going to do, what's it called? Total miles.
Self, I think.
You know I keep forgetting it. Is going to be equal to self dot total miles plus the miles, and that we're going to do what's it called? Self dot fuel capacity, because of course we use gas, is going to be equal to self dot fuel capacity
Couldn't we do
minus
fuel level, Anthony?
Yes, I know. I make a lot of stupid mistakes, which is not good, but yeah. I'm glad you're catching them. Thank you, Christina. Honestly, you just want to code at this point because I feel like I'm gonna just keep doing
No,
that.
you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're used to.
Again, I'm so used to Java. It's like, it's so like it almost feels like there's just too little that I just keep overcompensating, but at the same time I'm not doing enough at the same time. But yeah. Self.fuel level, we're going to just subtract our the miles per gallon by.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of math here. So to get the total number of like gallons that we use, we have to divide our miles by the miles per gallon. Because if we know like we can drive 10 miles per gallon, which is really low, but say we can drive 10 miles per gallon, and we drove 10 miles, we can divide that and we'll know we'll get like 1 gallon from that. If that makes sense.
Yes, okay. I'm sorry. This is really sad. I feel like I should know this. Have I really not been in school for that long that I'm already forgetting how to do just division? Whatever. Don't worry about it. And then of course we can do the else again, that if we do have like too many, that means that we're only going to be able to drive as many miles as we can. And thus we know that the max that we can drive is our range. So we're going to do self that total miles is going to be equal to self dot get range. So yeah, just to explain why that's the case. Essentially, if our maximum miles that we can drive is, what our get range is, as in like that's just how much gas we have, then we obviously know that we can't drive that many. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say is, that we can only drive for as long as we can. So yeah. We're also going to set our fuel level, not capacity, equal to 0, because no matter what, if we run out of gas, we run out of gas. We don't even have to do math. We just know it's 0. So yeah, this is what our drive function looks like. We, again, are going to, just like with add gas with the maximum fuel capacity, we know that we basically have a fuel capacity, but for the minimum, which is just, in this case, 0. So yeah, with that, we get this bit of code where we add our miles, and then we, wait a second. I forgot that very important step. I was like, that did not look right. But yeah, we're going to add our number of miles, which is whether it be however many we can do, or just whatever we put. And then we'll either remove the gas if we still have some left over, or just remove it entirely. And that should give you a nearly finished lab.
Yeah,
but
we have like
we're not
2
completely
minutes.
done because we actually have one cool function, not really cool, but one helpful function, especially with debugging your code, in the form of __str___. You'll notice that all of these weird underscore functions are just very helpful functions that, you wouldn't normally name yourself, but are very helpful, to have. So I see someone's copying the code.
So like you saw
yeah.
on the doc, it says override. So it's kind of something. So this is accessed whenever you try and print out an object. That's the string function. That's like when it's called. So you don't have to like explicitly call it, but we're overriding it because every object already has its own like print, but it's gonna print something weird that you don't want. So we're gonna try and override this.
So essentially what we're going to do is just print our make and model. Like just for now, we're going to do it like that. I'm actually going to just show you an instance of it. So that's going to do car is equal to vehicle Honda Civic. I know nothing about cars, so you're going to get to see me just making up a bunch of numbers. Fuel capacity, 2 miles. No, wait. I don't know.
The example has like 12.4.
How many gallons is a car? I don't know.
The example had 12.4 and then 35 miles per
12
gallon.
and then 35 miles per gallon. Really? That sounds like a lot. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know things about cars. Maybe some of you guys in the chat do. If you'd like to talk about cars, we'd love to hear that. But yeah, if we go to just, this is where the weird things comes in. We're actually not going to call that str function. We're just going to print out that object. So instead, what you're going to see is, wait, what? Oh, I'm so stupid.
Print car.
Yeah, as you'll see, it'll actually override that print function if we do it like that. So like here we have the miles per gallon written as well. So let's just add that in. So let me just shrink the chat. That should hopefully make this print out. No, it does not. That's unfortunate.
Oh, just put a str parentheses around it. Because it's an integer, it's like getting mad at us.
Okay. Again, Java. So yeah, as you see here, Honda Civic, 35 miles per gallon. So that's not the full thing there, but essentially you can basically override that function for your object. So while you might be able to print a string, an int, and a float, you can essentially just call basically say that whenever any amount or any sort of code wants to get whatever our string for this object is, we can give it a custom string. So because we're not just like a float or an int or a string, we can create our own by using the data inside of it to print something out. And it's just something that's, again, really helpful when you're debugging. Like, for instance, if you have some sort of class that's like a 3D coordinate, like an X, a Y, and a Z, whenever you want to print it out, you might want to put the parentheses and the commas to like give yourself like the points in terms of that coordinate.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah,
are there any
I just want to
questions?
know. Yeah, do you have any questions or no? Uh, we'll just leave this time for right now, just for asking questions. So yeah, so if you have any questions, actually just type them in the chat. But if actually, just want to get your opinion. This is just an instance of a lab, but we could probably go about just making a game and probably a text-based game first, and then probably move on to stuff in the future. If you guys want to continue this program, um, like we can definitely like do stuff with this more. Like, we can just make up labs for you, but do you guys have any preferences on any themings for a lab, or like, are there any kinds of text games that you want to work on in specific? Or no? Oh, no problem, Juhi. But do you guys have any like preferences for what you would like to possibly like, do something? Would you like to make a little? I don't know. I don't know what kind of text games you could do, like a little speed typing game. What do you want to do? I don't know what kind of text-based games there are, but you could want to make a rock paper scissors simulator. Like realistically, just anything you want to do with the text that we can probably try working on that now, and we'll make a little lab for you to like help you through that process. But if we really don't know what it is that you guys want to do, it's going to be a little bit hard, and you might make something that you guys don't really want to do. So if you guys just want to let us know, either do we have a little place for them to even submit that after class or no? Like, do we have a? I don't know. Do we? Oh, thank you, Thomas. Okay, we have an email. Yeah, you can email us if you want. Just like with any sort of suggestions for what you want to do in class. Like if any, like even if like one of you sends us a suggestion, we'll try to incorporate it. Like we can edit it for you, or like we do have a little bit of like space in the curriculum that we can just do what you want and teach you how to do it at this point. Because objects is really the big thing. So yeah.
That like time is up, so if you guys
Yeah,
need to
time is
go,
up. So if you guys want to leave, you can. So
thank you for coming.
yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna stop the recording. Are we all good?
I think we are.